What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today is team selection time ahead of Game Week 14. Now, I know at the time of putting out the video, Game Week 13 hasn't quite finished yet, but needs must with these tight turnarounds. I want to get this video out there. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do in Game Week 14 anyway, and I don't think tonight's games are really going to affect it too much unless there's major injuries, in which case I'll talk about them on the stream, the deadline stream, the Game Week preview that I'm still looking to do anyway. So basically in this one, I thought I would go through how I did in Game Week 13 as normal, how I'm doing in Game Week 13, look ahead to Game Week 14, including captaincy and transfers, but also do a little bit at the end about what my chip strategy is. I don't have my first wild card, so it might be a little bit different to some of you, but the same, or I might be in the same situation as a lot of you as well. So I'll do that at the end too. So going to be quite a bumper video this, so let's get into it. Give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and let's see how I'm doing so far in Game Week 13. So just before we jump into the Game Week 13 review, I wanted to talk about OneFootball, who have sponsored today's video with a little bit of a difference, right? So it's not just about downloading the app. There's a football jersey up for grabs, and all you have to do is predict 5 results from Boxing Day, right? Pretty simple. Click that link in the description below. That'll take you through to where you need to fill these details in. So the 5 games are Arsenal versus Chelsea, Leicester versus Man United, Liverpool versus West Brom, Man City versus Newcastle, and Spurs versus Wolves. Which team will win, or will it be a draw? Now, my predictions are on screen. Chelsea to beat Arsenal because it's Arsenal, so that's obvious. Man United versus Leicester because realistically, what else was I going to pick there? Liverpool to beat West Brom, even with Sam Allardyce in charge. Klopp's Liverpool will have too much. Man City versus Newcastle, same thing. They're going to beat Newcastle on that day. And then Spurs versus Wolves. This is the only one I consider putting down as a draw, but I think after that defeat to Liverpool, I think they'll bounce back against Leicester and Wolves and nick the win there as well. It might be a tight game, but I think Spurs will have enough. So that's my predictions. If you want to predict yours, all you have to do, click that link in the description below and fill out the form. Okay, so Game Week 13 so far is actually going pretty well. I've had a captain blank or not, depending on how you want to talk about it. For me, it's a return, right? A blank would be 2 or 3 points. He's got on 4 points to Kevin De Bruyne. It goes into 8. For me, that's a return just about. It's the same as an assist and a yellow card. It's not great, but when your player blanks and then gets 2 bonus points, so he doesn't blank, you've got to be kind of happy with it. So I'm sure Bruno Fernandes, who was my other option, will do well tonight, and I still think that's going to be good for me, regardless of whether I've got him captain. Obviously, if he gets a double-digit haul and I captain him, that was better. But given the ownership levels, it's still not that bad for me if he does well tonight. So I'm pretty happy about that. So I'm on 44 points, which is actually pretty good this week, looking around kind of the average score and what other people have been scoring. My rank's gone up to 169,850. I think I was ranked at 218k before this week, so it's like a nearly 50k rank growth so far. So on the FPL page, it says 163,000. This is with bench points taken into account. So if you go to livefpl.net and search there, you can look at what your rank is during the week, and that's basically how I know I'm on 169k. 790 total points, but I still have 4 players to come tonight. So I don't see a situation how I come out of tonight and I don't get a green arrow. I'm not saying the rank will increase loads from 169k, but there's no way I can get a red arrow off tonight because I just don't see the ownership levels being that high. Obviously, Aston Villa against Burnley. If Aston Villa can score, that's the Burnley clean sheet wiped out. Not many players or not many FPL managers own Burnley attackers. And then really, the Man United, the only high-owned player is Fernandes, and I have him anyway. And then I've got triple Villa, Martinez, Grealish, Watkins. So if Grealish and Watkins can combine at some point, even if it's just for 1 goal, and if Martinez can get a clean sheet, it's going to be a really good game week. But either way, I should be on a green. Just to quickly talk about some other players. Calvert-Lewin, another assist. I know it's only 5 points, but considering he's had 2 tough enough fixtures over the last 2, Chelsea and then Leicester, to come out of there with 10 points, I'm pretty happy with that. And then going forward, the fixtures get a little bit easier, I would say. So right now, he's looking good. Bamford with another goal. A bit annoying that he didn't get more points considering they scored 5 goals. No bonus points because he wasn't really involved, or he wasn't involved with any of the other goals. But still, another return for him. Another return for Salah as well. I don't think he's blanked now for like 5 or 6 games that he's played. Obviously, he had that one where he literally blanked because he didn't play because he tested positive for COVID. But outside of that, he's just not blanking at all right now. I know it was a deflected shot, but Liverpool did have quite a few chances. I think the issue with that game was a lot of the chances were right at Lloris without any real power. So they did get a lot of shots away, but they weren't really outstanding chances. So a little bit fortunate maybe with a massive deflection that got that goal. But obviously happy with it. And then so far my defence is on a full house, right? I was going into this week worried that I didn't have a Man City defender. Now, if you've got a Man City defender, you can't be... Obviously you can be annoyed, But they were very unfortunate to concede, I think. And going forward, they still got such good fixtures. They're going to be fine. So I was worried about not having a Man City defender. And then after all that, all my players score points. Chilwell gets the assist. They do concede 2 goals. Very annoying, but he did get the assist. So obviously, Reece James, Zuma blanked. Dallas gets his goal, so Newcastle scored 2 past leads, and Dallas comes out with 7 points. Got to be happy with that. Very attacking last night, he was. And by the way, on Leeds defenders, I know there's a lot of talk about how many goals they let in. Obviously, if you've got Ayling, it's frustrating. But Dallas, that's his 9th game in my squad. I've not played him in all these games, but that's his 9th game since I wildcard, and that's his 5th return. So all this talk about Leeds defenders, he's actually doing fine. And then Lamptey with a 6-pointer. I think that's only their 2nd clean sheet this season. Good time to get it for me having to play him, and I'll probably play him again next week, which we'll talk about in a sec. So overall, a good week. 44 points in counting. I have to get a green arrow this week considering I've got 4 players left and there's no one highly owned that I don't own anyway. So let's look ahead to game week 14. Now, I didn't mention what my transfer was last week. So I did Son and Jota to Souček, who's on the bench anyway. He's just bench fodder for me now. And Fernandes. So I should just touch on the fact that I've sold Son. He's got 9 points. Again, 1 shot in the box, 1 goal for Son. He just keeps scoring. To be fair, he set up 2 really good chances as well. So in some ways, it was unfortunate to not get more points. But I think what he got for how Spurs played was probably really decent if you kept him, right? So a little bit annoyed that I did that. I've still come away with a green arrow, and if Fernandes gets 10 or more points, then obviously that transfer has worked out. But obviously that is Spurs' last kind of really tough fixture now, and then they're going to start to get another good run going now. So might punish me, but I'm kind of okay with it as it stands. As long as Fernandes gets me something tonight, even if it's not the 10 points that I would like or plus, but we'll see. So game week 14, I got 1 free transfer, 1.1 million in the bank after those transfers I made last week. Defence is looking really good again. Lamptey against Sheffield United. Look, I'm sure Brighton will find some way to concede against Sheffield United, but for most teams, that's an almost banked clean sheet. So I'm more than happy to play Lamptey in this one, as long as Potter doesn't say he needs to be rested or anything like that. Obviously, Brighton did drop their goalkeeper as well. They've dropped Matt Ryan. I do think that's going to be a thing now for probably a good few games to go. Potter's already said that Matt Ryan is not going to play in the next game. So that could be good news for Lamptey. And I'm pretty happy to play him against Sheffield United. Chilwell's obviously in there. I'm just going to play him every single game. I'm not really too worried about Chelsea defence. Like, Ziyech not being there is maybe not great for the team as a whole. And I know they conceded 2 against Wolves. And to be fair, Chilwell kept giving the ball away as well, which didn't help. But they still haven't conceded a huge amount of really good quality chances, so I'm not really too worried about them. Can they get a clean sheet against West Ham? It's going to be tricky. Obviously, if Antonio's fit, that's going to be a boost. Haller scored an amazing goal, overhead kick last night as well. So West Ham are not going to be an easy team to face. But Chilwell obviously plays. And Martinez plays against West Brom as well. West Brom with a new manager now, Sam Allardyce. So potentially they're going to become even more defensively sound than they have been. I know they did well against Man City, but again, they still gave away quite a few chances. So we'll see what Sam Allardyce does to make changes there to see if he can shore them up a little bit. But I think that's going to be a good game for Villa. I'm not bothered about playing Martinez at all. And then I'm playing Reguilon right now. So I've got Dallas against Man United on the bench. Mitchell obviously doesn't get into the Palace team anymore. So I'm playing Reguilon. This is where I'm considering a transfer this week. Now, obviously, even though I try and not fixate on it, I am thinking ahead to the doubles and blank game weeks. So he has he plays in game week 18, but doesn't have a double in game week 19. But it is Sheffield United away, so it's a pretty good fixture for Spurs. So Reguilon is someone I'm considering keeping because obviously everyone who sold Kane and Son are looking at ways to get them back. And that's because the fixtures are so good. So if the fixtures are good for them, they're also good for Reguilon. So I'm tempted to keep him. If I make a transfer, it'll probably be him to Diaz this week, or maybe to Reece James. Although I'm not sure, as much as I'm okay with Chilwell, I don't know if I want the double up on Chelsea right now. But they do have a double game week in game week 19, which is worth considering. And obviously, when I talk about my chip strategy later, I'll talk about what would make me make that move. But what I'm thinking of doing, to be honest, is saving the transfer this week, not doing the Reguilon to Diaz swap, because I think Spurs fixtures are good enough to maybe just hold him. I know he got rested last night against Liverpool, but he's going to play the majority. And just roll the transfer into game week 15 before I figure out exactly what I want to do with my chip strategy, and then have 2 free transfers to use next week, potentially to get Spurs players back, or just to make a small move before I get Kane and Son, whoever it is, back ahead of game week 16 when their fixtures really turn. So I think the defence is looking quite good again. If I could get another full house this week, it would be great. And one last thing, I checked last night. So I wildcarded in game week 5. And I've only made one defender change since then. So I wildcarded, I got Reguilon, Lamptey, Mitchell and Dallas. They were all on the wildcard, all 4 of those players. The only change I've made is I wildcarded with Trent Alexander-Arnold in my team, and I swapped into Chilwell, which has been a great move. So I've literally made just one transfer since Game Week 5 on my defence, because I think people overlook just how useful a 4.5 million defender is. Like, if everyone looks at Dallas, they'll be telling me Leeds' defence is rubbish. They'll be looking at Soufal, telling me West Ham defence is great. But Soufal got his first return last night for 4 game weeks. Dallas has got 2 returns in the last 4 game weeks. And like I said, he's got 5 in the last 9. So I don't really want to spend too many transfers on these 4.5 million defenders who can get points out of nowhere. They're all attacking. Lamptey, Dallas, Soufal, they're all attacking. They can get clean sheets on the day. And that's a strategy I've been doing for 9 game weeks now. I don't think that's going to change. So potentially I could make a defender transfer this week. But I think it's probably more worthwhile for my team to save it and then look ahead to next week to have 2 free transfers and then have a rethink about what I'm doing for Game Week 18 and 19. So that's the defence. Let's look at the midfield. So the midfield is looking pretty good so far this week. Grealish, De Bruyne, Salah, Fernandes, pretty happy with that. The only one I'm really missing that anyone would kind of notice is Son, who I sold last week. But I think I may have made the right decision there with Fernandes, having the money in the bank and getting to keep Calvert-Lewin. So the structure is still all there. I've got a good bench with Souček now as well. So I'm quite happy with that. But in Game Week 16 in particular, I do need to potentially look at ways to get 1 or 2 Spurs players back. And I'll quickly touch on now how I might do that. So I'm fine with playing Grealish against West Brom. Look, I know how good Sam Allardyce can be at coming in, making the team extremely boring, hard to beat. Sam Johnson at West Brom could now be a really good option in goal. But let's see what he can do first. He's only going to have had a few days training with them to change things around. I'm not too worried about having to play Grealish against West Brom just yet. I don't know if West Brom are suddenly going to turn it around, but we'll see. Maybe they will. So I think he's fine. Salah, I'm more than happy with against Crystal Palace. I mean, like I said, he hasn't blanked for like 6 game weeks now that he's played. It's like 5 or 6. And the fixtures going forward are really good. And he's got that double in Game Week 19 as well. And right now he's my captain. It's between him and Fernandes. I think De Bruyne could be an option as well this week. I'll talk about him in a sec because people are obviously writing him off because he didn't get any points against West Brom apart from the bonus points. But I do think it's probably between Salah and Fernandes. Now, Leeds' defence is so open, right? Even last night, really good result for them, 5-2. But they've still conceded 2 goals to Newcastle. And so Fernandes, Leeds are just going to be open. I think back to that Man City match where Leeds held Man City to a draw and they were good for a large part of that game, but they were not good for the opening 20-30 minutes. And if Man United can nick a goal early, Leeds are going to leave themselves open. And Man United on the counter are pretty decent as well. I know Leeds can get back. Obviously, their fitness levels are ridiculous. But that is a great fixture. I know most people are going to be siding with going for Fernandes in this week. And obviously, as much as I love Dallas, I know the defensive stats for Leeds are not great. So playing a team like Man United is going to be tough for them. But I don't think it's as obvious as just saying it's Fernandes. I think Salah is still a great option. Like, he hasn't blanked for, like I just said, for a while. Crystal Palace are not keeping too many clean sheets this year. I think Liverpool just look really good against Spurs. I know they weren't great against Fulham, but I thought for large parts of that Spurs game they were extremely good. I don't see why they can't put some more goals past Crystal Palace either. So I am torn between the two. I'll do the captaincy video probably, and then I'll make my mind up. And just quickly on Kevin De Bruyne, right? I know he didn't get any attacking returns against West Brom, but right at the end, he created 2 massive chances. Now, I wouldn't say he could have had 2 assists, because if the first one goes in, he probably doesn't get the second one, because the game would have changed a little bit. They may have just kept the ball a little bit more. But he could have had a return there. He also, really good free kick, decent save in the end, but good free kick where he could have scored from as well. I will say he didn't get too many shots in the box in that game, and Rodri was super frustrating as a De Bruyne owner because he just didn't seem to want to pass to him, and he kept taking long-range shots as well. So it wasn't an ideal game. There was a quick turnaround. Maybe I should have taken that more into account. There was a quick turnaround in terms of fitness levels and stuff, but at the end of the day, Man City created a lot of chances against West Brom, and look, you can say Billet shouldn't have been sacked because they got a 1-1 draw, but on another day, Diaz doesn't score that own goal, West Brom don't get a goal, and Man City score 3 or 4. So maybe that's doing a bit of disservice to West Brom, but I think City created enough chances, especially at the end, right? The point-blank headers, Gundogan and Sterling, should have gone in. So I think De Bruyne was a little bit unlucky, and I think people are so quick to forget that he got 40. I know he hasn't scored from open play, right? I know, but he's getting the chances, and people are so quick to forget that he got a 14-pointer and a 10-pointer. Okay, he didn't get any points against Man United, but to be expected, I would say. And then, okay, he's blanked against West Brom or got 4 points, whatever you want to call it. But he's still got good fixtures to come. So I think to write him off this early is a bit too quick to do that. And like I said, in the game week preview tomorrow, I'm going to do a bit on perspective. Because if I go and check the points for the last 4 game weeks for all the big hitters, people will say, what are you doing without Son? What are you doing without Kane? But Son's points are going to be close to Salah, close to De Bruyne, close to Fernandes if he gets a haul tonight. And I think Kane has scored less than all of them in the last 4 weeks. So having De Bruyne hasn't been that detrimental to our teams. And Southampton away, okay, is a tricky enough fixture. But the fixtures overall from now until like game week 22 are really good. So definitely not writing off De Bruyne yet. But if I want to get Son in game week 16, one of these 3, De Bruyne, Salah, Fernandes, might have to go. And then it's a tricky call to make. Okay, so the forwards, I don't really need to talk about them for too long, to be honest. Watkins and Grealish, look, some people are not liking the double up right now because I've already got them in my team and I've had them in for a couple of weeks. I'm okay with it against West Brom again. I'm not going to go through the same thing with Big Sam, etc. But I think that's a perfectly fine fixture. And Watkins' underlying numbers, like the amount of chances he gets and stuff like that, is still good even without the penalties. I don't think after the last game, right, and obviously I'm not talking about their game against Burnley because I've not seen that yet, but that last game, I don't think the penalty situation is any more, more known to us. Is it Grealish, is it Watkins, whoever? I think Grealish is not going to be the penalty taker because if he wanted to be, he could be, and he hasn't taken the last couple when he could. So maybe Watkins gets them back, but even if he doesn't, and the fact that he didn't want to or didn't take the last one probably tells me that he hasn't got them now. It's probably El Ghazi, maybe Barkley when he's on the pitch, but Watkins' numbers are still quite good. West Brom and Crystal Palace, and then I reassess. Maybe I bring in a different striker. Maybe I start looking towards the blank, the double, whatever. But I think for the next 2, I'm fine to keep him. Bamford's got good fixtures after Man United. Not the most ideal fixture, but I'm happy to play him in any match, really. And then Calvert-Lewin, Arsenal at home. That might even be the easiest game of his last couple, right? He's played Leicester, he's played Chelsea. He's got 2 assists in those 2 games. Arsenal, maybe this is where the goals come back, right? So the forward line's looking okay. And on the bench, you've got Souček, Dallas, Mitchell, Forster. So I'm pretty happy with that team as a whole. I don't think it needs a transfer, but I could do Reguilón to Diaz. I'm going to wait and see. But unless there's any injuries in tonight's games, I think that's how it's going to look. The only difference is whether I captain Salah or Fernandes. And right now, I would say I'm quite tempted to switch it to Fernandes, but I'm going to look at tonight's game and see how that goes. But these are just so open. But Salah on his day just gets points anyway. So that's how the team looks. I'm just going to really quickly talk about chip strategy. Okay, so I've just added the chips that I've got left on the left-hand side of the screen. So I don't have my wild card, and there are so many ways you could play this. I'm not going to go through them all in this video because it's not really what it's about. If you've got your first wild card still, which I don't, then using it in game week 16, free hitting in game week 18, and bench boosting in game week 19 is what so many people are going to do. And it seems like probably the right strategy. We're probably not going to get a bigger double game week than game week 19, right? So if you can do that, go for it. I don't have my first wild card. I've got the free hit, the bench boost, triple captain, obviously my second wild card, which can be used from game week 17 onwards. But as it stands right now, I'm not really looking to use that for game week 17, 18, 19 or anything like that. I don't think so anyway. So I look at my team, and something that I'm going to have to do properly over the next coming weeks, which I would say you should too if you can, is if you've not got your first wild card, this is look at game week 19 and 18, right, and build what would be your perfect free hit team, and that if that's when you're planning on using it, and then see how much different that is to the team you can get without using the free hit, because I may use it in game week 18 or 19, I don't know yet, but I can see a situation where maybe I don't use it. So if I look at this team right now, and who's playing twice, right, who's got a double game week, so Chilwell, right, he's someone I would want in the double game week. Salah definitely, Fernandes definitely, have to have them. Bamford, and he's got a pretty good one as well. He's got a pretty good double game. I think it's Brighton and Southampton off the top of my head. And obviously Dallas and Souček on the bench have also got one. So that's Fernandes, Salah, Chilwell, Bamford, Dallas and Souček. Now, that's maybe not the ideal team, right? I'm sure someone free hitting in their defence would not have Dallas. They would on their bench boost, I'm sure. But, you'd probably have on a free hit maybe Chilwell, Reece James, Robertson or Trent, something like that, something a bit bigger. I think Bamford is fine, by the way, on a free hit, because I think obviously it's all well and good saying you'll have Salah, you'll have Fernandes, you'll have Vardy, etc. But at some point you've got to save some money. The big key for me, there's a few players which I think are tricky for me to get in on double game at 19 and manage the rest of my team is a Liverpool defender, a double game week goalkeeper. So I've got Martinez. He's going to play in 18 and 19, but he doesn't have a double game week. So Robertson, double game week keeper, and Vardy and Ings. Right, because I don't really have a vision of getting Vardy or Ings in any other way. So they are players that might be popular on a first wild card or a free hit in game week 19. But on the flip side, because I've got those 6 players for the double game week, I've also got a good few players for the free for game week 18 when there's blanks, right? So Calvert-Lewin plays, all my Villa players play. I know they're playing against Spurs, which isn't ideal, but they all play, so that's 4. Reguilon plays. I'm looking to get Kane and or Son as well. That's 7. And Calvert-Lewin obviously as well. So I think the team looks okay for game week 18. Now, the problem I have with the free hit in game week 18 is it's not very inspiring. Everyone's going to probably look for 3 City. I've already got De Bruyne. 3 Spurs. So that's 6 of your team already. Probably Calvert-Lewin because he scores all the time. That's 7. And then what? Like Newcastle players against Sheffield United? That's not that bad of an option. But is it worth using a free hit for? So I am tempted to just build my team so it's good enough for game week 18, even if I have to play with 9 or 10 men, and then maybe use my free hit in game week 19 to get the best double game week I can, and then use my second wild card, right? I hope you're following this, to manage the blank game weeks that are going to happen later on. So there's blank game week in game week 29 probably. But obviously that doesn't let me use my triple captain in this week. So Salah with a double game week is someone that I might want to use my triple captain on, even if he's playing Man United. So there's lots and lots to think about before now and then. So obviously if I use the free hit in 18, then I can triple captain in 19. But if I'm free hitting, how am I going to get from like Kane and Son, etc., who I want in game week 16, 17, to then get rid of them in game week 19? Because if you use your free hit in game week 18, you can't have 2 free transfers for the next week, right? You only get 1. And then if I have to take like 3 or 4 hits, is that worthwhile? So I think that's my initial thoughts. I don't want to go into it too much more because I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to go, but that is what I'm thinking, right? I think you could use your free hit in 18, you could use it in 19. This is if you haven't got your first wild card. Or you could probably manage it without using either and just not have the most ideal team, perhaps use your triple captain. For the bench boost, I will use that after whenever I wild card. I think for anyone without their first wildcard, it's tricky to get a good bench boost team for game week 19 because I've got like Dallas and Souček, who a lot of people will bench boost with the first wildcard, but I'd have to make 2 transfers on my bench, Forster and Mitchell. That's without even thinking about how I get Kane, Son, and manage the blank and bench boost in game week 19. It's probably not worthwhile. You don't have to bench boost with all double game week players, but Forster and Mitchell are not even playing, so it'd be pointless. So I'm going to save the bench boost till whenever I use my second wild card. But yeah, I'm still undecided on the free hit. I'll probably do a separate video at some point about what I'm thinking of. But right now, the games are coming thick and fast over Christmas as well, so it's not the most ideal time to be doing extra videos, but I will try and put something together. But I wanted to give you my initial thoughts. There they are. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any questions. So that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here as well. No tinkering this week just because I'm probably not going to make a transfer. And I think what I have to do is reassess next week how I'm going to get maybe an extra Spurs player or 2 in my side. And I'll have a bit more thoughts then about kind of chip strategy and stuff like that. And I basically think I have to have decided by game week 15 because it is going to change the way that I play the game up until then. So hopefully I'll have more on that next week. Otherwise I'm just going to roll as long as there's no major injuries in the Villa or the Man United game tonight, in which case I'll talk about that, like I said, in other videos that I'll be doing up until the deadline. So I'm streaming tonight. So if you're watching this on Thursday, I'm streaming after the Man United game, so around 10 o'clock. It's a late one, but I want to get that in the knee-jerk stream before the preview and hopefully the captaincy video on Friday as well, and then a deadline stream on Saturday. So there's lots of content coming. Please do keep giving the videos a like and hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already. And lastly, I want to talk about Patreon, patreon.com/letstalkfpl. Link in the description below if you want to check that out. There's extra content over there, so there'll be a Q&A over there tomorrow. Once I've made any transfers and stuff like that, I'll be having a team reveal article and stuff like that every single game week. Slack access, great little community over there. WhatsApp access, depending on the tier that you sign up to as well. So check that out. Link in the description below. And everyone that signs up gets on the Legends wall as well. So I'll give you a shout out on the next video or stream after you've signed up. So there we go. That is the video for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll be back later for a stream. Hopefully Grealish, Watkins, Martinez and Fernandes will have got me a huge haul, and it's a big green arrow, but I guess we'll find out later on. See you on the stream, and if not, I'll see you tomorrow for the preview.